For just over a week now, we've been adventuring about in Final Fantasy XIV, courtesy of the Collector's Edition's Early Access. With the game finally set for prime time with the standard worldwide retail release, we're here to give you the lowdown on the early experience. Launch day for any big online game can often be a headache. Is joining up now worth the effort? Setting up an account is simple enough and hassle-free, and installation from the disk is brisk. We personally encountered many of the problems that players are reporting regarding patching up to the latest version of the game. The patches would either fail to download or take an incredibly long time to finish. Those who are a bit more tech-savvy can browse around and find the patches rehosted and manually install them in order to save a great deal of time, so there is an alternative.
So nice of you to join us again.
Final Fantasy XIV opens with a story-based quest that introduces you to your home city. When it concludes, you're turned loose on the world with little in the way of guidance. Unlike most MMOs you'd play these days, the game doesn't goad you toward quests or other sorts of directed content. Don't be surprised if you're completely lost and aimless wandering around for the first hour or so. The information is out there on the web, and many of the players you'll encounter have experience with the beta. Just don't expect much help from the game itself. Once settled in, however you manage to do so, you have the option to partake in the game's quest system, which includes both battle-related objectives and crafting. The system seems straightforward enough in concept, but the specifics are confusing, as the game doesn't ever explain to you how they work. Just as confounding is the job system, which allows you to toggle between the multiple classes. Again, it's not that the mechanic itself is perplexing, the game just doesn't provide you any information on how it all works. Grasping it all takes patience, something that Final Fantasy XIV demands a great deal of, especially in the early goings. You'll end up relying on the kindness of your fellow players a lot. It's too bad that the game's social mechanics aren't suitably fleshed out at this point. You want a mail system? So do we. Let's hope that it's on the docket. As you can see, Final Fantasy XIV's initial learning curve is steep. If you're motivated to overcome it, the game's rhythm becomes apparent, battling monsters on quests, crafting new wares, and inevitably grinding with a party. You'll also try your hand at playing the game's economy and quickly bemoan the lack of a proper auction house. This is a reoccurring theme in Final Fantasy XIV. Systems and features that you've come to regard as basic in other MMOs are bafflingly absent. Performance-wise, we've yet to encounter very much lag, even in the densely populated towns. On the flip side, load times are somewhat of an issue. Expect to wait a while for NPCs and players to pop up when you enter hotspots, such as markets and taverns. There are other bugs, ranging from merely annoying to somewhat aggravating. Be wary of the mobs with regenerating health. What will certainly be puzzling to people who play a lot of MMOs is how non-communicative Square Enix is with the game's community. On the game's official site, messages addressing the community's concerns are sparse, and there aren't any official forum for players to report issues or talk to each other about the game. If you're mainly concerned about whether or not Final Fantasy XIV is holding up on the technical end, then consider this your all clear to enter Eorzea. Whether or not you'll want to invest the time and money into such an expedition is an entirely separate question, though. Be sure to check back shortly for our full review coverage from the digital front lines.
How long must we wait?